I am Olivia Harper, 34 years old, owner of Harper Fresh Solutions, a leading food logistics company in California, supplying fresh ingredients to high-end restaurants, five-star hotels, and event organizations across the West Coast. My company generates over $18 million in annual revenue, with 75 employees and a network of partners stretching from Napa Valley to San Diego. But just 6 months ago, my family still thought I was a failure, someone who wasted the business degree my grandfather, Henry Harper, paid for. They had no idea that my company had quietly helped their restaurant chain, Harper Culinary Group, achieve remarkable progress over the past 3 years. Today, as I sit in a lawyer's office in downtown Los Angeles, watching my relatives beam with anticipation, believing they're about to receive the biggest inheritance of their lives, I can't help but smile. They called me the girl doing trivial food jobs, never suspecting that I held the trump card. My grandfather left me 51% controlling interest in the restaurant chain, along with a letter explaining why he chose me, a decision kept secret through a codicil in his will. This isn't just a story about money or power. It's about quietly building success, turning disdain into motivation, and the moment when those who never saw your worth are confronted with undeniable truth. If you're still listening, we want to sincerely thank you for spending your time with us. Truly means a lot. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments and let's see how far this message has reached. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I highly recommend doing it now so you won't miss any of our upcoming stories. These aren't just ordinary stories, they're filled with meaningful life lessons that can inspire, teach, and stay with you long after the video ends. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing community. And now, let me take you back to where it all began, a fateful day that changed everything. Part 1: The Secret in the Office. 3 weeks before my grandfather's funeral, I was sitting in my office at Harper Fresh Solutions headquarters in Santa Monica. From the window, I could see the sunlight glinting off the Pacific Ocean, reflecting through containers filled with organic vegetables and fresh seafood. Company had just surpassed $4.5 million in quarterly revenue, a figure that even I sometimes found hard to believe. I had built this business from nothing, starting with an old delivery truck and a bold dream to bring high-quality food to the best kitchens in California. The phone rang, pulling me away from financial reports. My assistant, Mia, announced that a lawyer named David Ellison wanted to speak urgently about my grandfather. I hesitated. My grandfather and I hadn't spoken directly in over 3 years, not since the last disastrous family gathering at the Harper Culinary Restaurant in Beverly Hills. There, my Uncle Robert, who ran the restaurant chain, had loudly declared that I was wasting my life on petty projects. My cousins, Ethan and Claire, nodded in agreement, their eyes filled with a mix of pity and contempt. I left that gathering with a heavy heart, deciding I'd never again try to prove myself to them. But something in Mia's voice made me pick up the phone. "Olivia Harper speaking," I said, my tone calm but cautious. David Ellison, with a deep and professional voice, explained that my grandfather had been conducting due diligence on the family's business relationships. He discovered that Harper Fresh Solutions was the primary supplier for the family's restaurant chain for the past 3 years. Not only that, he realized that the improvements in menu offerings, waste reduction, and delivery efficiency that Ethan and Claire had taken credit for all stemmed from my company's suggestions and services. I nearly dropped the phone. "When did he find out?" I asked, my heart pounding. David recounted how my grandfather spent an entire afternoon in his office, reviewing every invoice, quality report, and delivery record from my company. He traced the business registration, recognizing my Santa Monica apartment complex as the company's address. He even drove to my warehouse in Torrance, quietly observing my team of 75 employees coordinating shipments for over 250 clients across the West Coast. David paused before continuing. Mr. Henry was deeply moved. He said he never expected the granddaughter he thought was struggling had built such an impressive food distribution network. My throat tightened. My grandfather, who always taught me that business wasn't just about making money but solving problems for the community, had seen what I'd done. But what he did next was even more surprising. He added a codicil to his will, granting me 51% controlling interest in Harper Culinary Group, citing that I was the only family member who demonstrated the entrepreneurial vision and innovation he had. However, he instructed David to keep it secret until after the funeral. He wanted the will reading to be a lesson for the family, David said. A lesson about underestimating others. I hung up, feeling a mix of excitement and anxiety. For the next 3 weeks, I kept this secret close, like a precious gem I knew would soon turn everything upside down. Part 2: The Funeral and the Scornful Glances. On the day of the funeral, I stood in the parking lot of Sunset Hills Memorial in Pasadena, watching my family gather around their luxury cars. California sun was harsh, making the simple black dress I wore feel stifling. I chose it not because it was cheap, but because it showed respect for my grandfather, the man I loved despite the distance that had grown between us. My family, as always, fell into their old patterns. Cole Robert, 58, the CEO of Harper Culinary Group, stood near the funeral home entrance, his voice carrying as he discussed business plans. Aunt Margaret, 55, a renowned event planner in Los Angeles, dabbed her eyes with an expensive handkerchief, but her gaze still swept the parking lot, assessing who arrived in what car. My cousins, Ethan, 36, and Claire, 33, both senior managers of the restaurant chain, stood near the guest book. They were impeccably dressed, Ethan in a sharp gray suit, Claire in a tailored black outfit, exuding the confidence of those certain they'd inherit the restaurant empire. I approached, feeling invisible among them. Aunt Margaret gave me a quick hug, her attention shifting to the next person before it ended. "Olivia, you made it?" "I wasn't sure you'd heard about the service," she said, her tone tinged with surprise, as if I didn't belong here. Ethan approached as I signed the guest book, offering a polite smile I knew was reserved for those not worth his time. "Hey, Liv, thanks for coming. How's the job situation? Still doing food-related stuff?" He said food like it was a trivial pursuit not worth mentioning. I gave a faint smile. "Yeah, something like that. Business is good." Claire joined us, looking like she stepped out of a fashion magazine, her black outfit elegant and jewelry subtle yet costly. "That dress is cute, Olivia." "Very practical," she said, her voice sweet but laced with condescension. We made small talk about the service, but no one mentioned the obvious. They couldn't understand why I was invited to tomorrow's will reading. David had called each family member, emphasizing that my presence was mandatory. I knew they thought I was there out of obligation, with no stake in the inheritance. But I stayed silent, letting them continue with their misguided assumptions. The service was everything my grandfather would have wanted. A jazz band played his favorite songs, and family members shared stories of his journey from a small diner in San Francisco to a renowned restaurant chain. Ethan delivered a eulogy, emphasizing carrying forward the family legacy, his voice brimming with confidence as if he were destined to lead. I sat in the back, listening to story after story about my grandfather's success and vision, but no one mentioned the granddaughter who had quietly followed his entrepreneurial example. In their narrative, I simply didn't exist. Part 3: The Night Before the Storm. After the service, the family gathered at Uncle Robert's house in Bel Air, a lavish mansion with an infinity pool and meticulously landscaped garden. I stood near the kitchen, holding a plate of food I didn't touch, listening to everyone discuss tomorrow's will reading. They talked about dividing the restaurants, real estate, and financial assets, their voices filled with excitement but veiled in decorum. No one asked my opinion. No one thought I had any role in the family's future. I observed them, noting the gap between how they saw me and the truth about me. They viewed me as the granddaughter who abandoned the family business to chase pointless hobbies. Meanwhile, I knew everything about their business, from profit margins to operational challenges to growth potential. I knew the Santa Barbara restaurant struggled due to inconsistent seafood suppliers. I knew the San Diego location exceeded projections thanks to inventory management systems my team proposed. I knew their plans to expand into Palm Springs were feasible if they had a reliable supplier, and my Harper Fresh Solutions was the answer. But beyond the numbers, I understood what my grandfather once told me as a child, sitting in the kitchen of his first restaurant in San Francisco. Business isn't about owning things, Olivia. It's about finding problems and solving them better than anyone else. He started with a small diner and built an empire by understanding customers, perfecting systems, and never compromising on quality. I had followed his lead, not by running restaurants, but by building a logistics company that made restaurants like his run better. That night, driving back to my Santa Monica apartment, I thought about the letter David said my grandfather left. It explained why he chose me, along with an apology for not recognizing my success sooner. He had researched my industry reputation, discovering that Harper Fresh Solutions was known for reliability, innovation, and solving problems clients didn't even know they had. He was proud that I built my success without relying on the Harper family name, which he saw as proof of true entrepreneurial spirit. As I went to bed, I realized that tomorrow wasn't just about inheritance or money. It was about finally being seen for who I had become, not the shadow my family thought I still was. Part 4: The Fateful Day. The next morning, I woke up at 5:30 as usual. After coffee and checking emails, I chose a navy business suit, the one I wore when signing my first major contract with a Los Angeles hotel chain 3 years ago. It was professional and sent a clear message. I was serious about business. I stood in front of the mirror, seeing the woman my family had never truly seen, an entrepreneur who built her own empire. David Ellison's law office was on the 18th floor of a glass tower in downtown Los Angeles, surrounded by corporate law firms, investment companies, and accounting offices serving the city's business elite. I arrived 20 minutes early, a habit that had served me well in business. The reception area was decorated in warm desert tones, with artwork on the walls and coffee from a premium service. The receptionist, a woman in her 40s with impeccable posture, recognized me immediately and informed me that David wanted to meet privately before the others arrived. In David's office, with its antique mahogany furniture and a view of the Los Angeles skyline, he handed me an envelope with my grandfather's distinctive handwriting. "Mr. Henry wanted you to read this before the will reading," David said. "He wanted you to understand his reasoning before the family learns of the decision." I opened the envelope, my heart racing. The letter was 3 pages long, written in my grandfather's careful script. He wrote about watching me grow up, our conversations about business and entrepreneurship, and his regret that family politics had created distance between us. "Olivia," he wrote, "when I drove by your warehouse, when I read your company's reports, I realized you didn't abandon the Harper legacy. You took it further, in a way I hadn't anticipated. You saw opportunities where we saw obstacles and built solutions where we saw problems. That's the spirit that built the Harper family in the first place." As I finished reading, the family began arriving. I heard Uncle Robert discussing financial projections, Aunt Margaret asking about parking validation, and Ethan and Claire whispering about their expectations. They were dressed like people preparing to inherit an empire, with Robert in a tailored gray suit, Margaret in an elegant black dress, and Ethan and Claire exuding the confidence of heirs. When they saw me walking out with David, their eyes flickered with surprise, as if wondering why I had a private meeting with the lawyer. Part 5: The Moment of Truth. In the conference room, the air was thick with anticipation. David sat at the head of the table, with will documents neatly arranged before him. My family took their seats in what felt like predetermined positions. Robert and Margaret on one side, Ethan and Claire opposite, and me at the end, slightly apart but close enough to participate. David began with preliminary matters, distributing smaller assets like my grandfather's watch collection to Robert and my grandmother's jewelry to Margaret. Everyone nodded, pleased with the sentimental gifts. Then David moved to the main part. "Now we come to the business assets and controlling interest in Harper Culinary Group." The room fell silent, every eye on him. He read that Robert and Margaret would receive the Bel Air house and a $900,000 trust fund. They nodded, satisfied with their share. Next, Ethan and Claire were to split 49% of the restaurant chain's shares, with expectations to maintain operational excellence. The 49% figure made Ethan frown. "Excuse me, Mr. Ellison, but if we're getting 49%, who gets the remaining 51%? Question hung in the air, and I felt every eye turn to me, though no one yet guessed the truth. David picked up a separate set of documents, the secret codicil. Mr. Henry added a codicil 3 weeks before his death, significantly altering the business asset distribution, he said, his voice calm but weighty. He began reading. In the past 3 weeks, I discovered that Harper Fresh Solutions, the primary supplier for our restaurant chain, is owned by my granddaughter Olivia Harper. This company has improved our operational efficiency, reduced costs, and maintained the quality standards that made our restaurants successful." The room froze. Ethan paled, Claire stared at me as if I were a stranger, and Robert whispered, "Olivia owns Harper Fresh Solutions?" I nodded, maintaining composure. David continued, "Olivia's company has annual revenue exceeding $18 million, serving over 250 clients across California and Nevada. She built a formidable business without relying on the Harper family name." He paused, looking around the table. "Therefore, I leave 51% controlling interest in Harper Culinary Group to Olivia Harper, along with strategic decision-making authority." The air felt electric. Robert gripped the table's edge, Ethan shook his head in disbelief, and Claire blurted, 3 years? She's been our supplier for 3 years? I replied evenly, yes. Harper Fresh Solutions has provided ingredients, optimized inventory, and suggested improvements that enhanced your restaurant's performance. David confirmed that every improvement they boasted about, from 35% waste reduction to expanding menus with organic ingredients, originated from my company. Part 6, Facing the Truth. Aunt Margaret broke the silence. "Olivia, why didn't you tell us?" I was ready for this question. I tried 5 years ago at family dinners, but every suggestion I made was dismissed. Eventually, I decided to focus on building my company rather than convincing anyone I had value. Ethan looked at me as if trying to piece together a new image of me. "All those inventory management improvements, the high-quality ingredients, that was your company?" I nodded. "My team identified issues and implemented solutions. That's what we do for all our clients." Claire, with a hint of professional curiosity, asked, "The $18 million in revenue, is that gross or profit?" "Gross revenue," I replied. Last year's net profit was $3.2 million. The number hit Robert like a blow. He had run restaurants for decades but never achieved such figures. David continued reading additional provisions. For the next 90 days, I would work with Ethan and Claire to ensure a smooth transition. They would retain their management roles, but all strategic decisions required my approval. My grandfather also set up a $600,000 integration fund to connect the restaurant operations with my logistics company, creating a stronger business model. Robert, still in shock, asked, "Olivia, were you planning this? Aiming to inherit the restaurants?" I shook my head. I knew nothing about the codicil until Mr. Ellison called 3 weeks ago. I built Harper Fresh Solutions to serve the food industry, not to target family assets. David confirmed that the codicil was entirely my grandfather's idea, based on his discovery of my contributions. Part 7, The Journey of Collaboration. After the will reading, we took a 30-minute break. My family huddled near the elevators, whispering, their eyes full of confusion. I found a quiet corner in the lobby, looking out at the Los Angeles streets. The responsibility of owning 51% was starting to weigh heavily. Managing my own company was challenging enough. Now I had to balance business decisions with complex family dynamics. But I was also excited. For 5 years, I had dreamed of applying my logistics expertise to restaurant operations. Now I had the chance to make that dream a reality with resources and authority I never imagined. My grandfather's integration fund opened possibilities to combine the restaurants and my logistics company, creating a unique business model that could dominate California's food industry. When we returned to the conference room, the atmosphere had shifted, less shock, more practical. David explained administrative details, transition timelines, and performance metrics I had to meet to justify my ownership. Ethan asked about these metrics, and David listed them: revenue growth, customer retention, operational efficiency, and employee satisfaction. If I failed to meet these goals, the family could request a review of the management structure. Claire, with professional curiosity, asked, "Olivia, what changes are you planning? Major overhauls or gradual improvements?" I replied, "I want to start with a comprehensive operational analysis. I understand your business as a supplier, but I need to grasp it from a management perspective. There are obvious opportunities like supply chain optimization and customer experience improvements, but I want to work together to ensure changes benefit everyone." Ethan nodded, showing respect for the first time. "What about the Palm Springs expansion plans?" "Worth considering," I said. "But we should optimize current locations first. Growth through efficiency often yields higher profits than rushed expansion." Conversation turned collaborative. Robert asked about developing contracts with hotels, and I shared about my network from Napa winemakers to Central Valley organic farms. Part 8: Rebuilding Relationships. A week later, I invited Ethan and Claire to tour Harper Fresh Solutions' warehouse in Torrance. As they walked in, Claire's eyes widened at the scale. Trucks moving constantly, employees checking food quality, and a digital inventory system. Ethan, usually reserved, couldn't hide his surprise. "Liv, you built this from scratch?" I nodded. 4 years ago, I started with one truck and a contact list. Now we serve over 250 clients. Ethan apologized for not taking my work seriously before, and Claire admitted she'd misjudged my capabilities. Those small apologies meant a lot. For the first time, I felt my family starting to see me as a partner, not just a relative they overlooked. Over the next 3 months, we worked together to integrate Harper Fresh Solutions with Harper Culinary Group. I invested in a modern POS system, cutting order processing time by 15%. Claire launched a loyalty program, boosting customer satisfaction to the highest in the chain's history. Ethan designed new kitchen workflows using data from my logistics team to eliminate food waste. Average ticket sizes rose 20%, and we began planning 3 new locations in San Jose, Palm Springs, and Las Vegas. Part 9: Success Beyond Expectations. 6 months after the will reading, I stood on the rooftop terrace of our newest restaurant in Santa Barbara, looking out at the Pacific Ocean shimmering under the sunset. This restaurant, a perfect blend of the Harper legacy and my logistics expertise, had surpassed all revenue projections just 3 months after opening. Ethan, now Regional Operations Director, showed me the numbers. Average ticket size was $48, 22% higher than other locations. Claire, as Brand Director, had secured contracts to cater for 3 major hotels, opening new revenue streams from event services. Robert, once my biggest skeptic, became a strategic advisor, sharing his decades of industry experience to guide decisions. Margaret, with her wide network in Los Angeles' event scene, helped us attract high-end clients. They didn't just accept me as the leader, they were proud of what we achieved together. At our quarterly family business meeting, the atmosphere was entirely different from the tense dinners I remembered. We discussed as partners, sharing ideas and plans. Ethan presented operational reports showing consistent improvements. Claire shared customer feedback and marketing results demonstrating growing brand loyalty. I provided financial analysis and strategic updates outlining opportunities for further growth. When Robert raised his glass of wine, he said, "To Olivia, who taught us that sometimes the person you understand least brings the greatest success." The applause was sincere, and for the first time I felt I truly belonged in this family. Part 10: Lessons from the Journey. Looking back on the past year, I realized that the inheritance wasn't just about assets, but about discovering my own value. I built Harper Fresh Solutions not to prove anything to my family, but because I believed in solving problems for clients. But when my grandfather recognized my efforts, it brought a healing I didn't know I needed. Lesson 1: Silence is strength. I spent years yearning for my family's approval, hoping they'd see past their assumptions about my small-time food business. Every dismissive comment at family gatherings stung, tempting me to boast about Harper Fresh Solutions' growth or the clients I served. But I learned that shouting to prove your worth often drowns out your true impact. Silence, paired with action, became my strength. When I focused on building my company, securing contracts, streamlining logistics, and solving problems for clients, I didn't need to explain my value. The results spoke for themselves: $18 million in revenue, 75 employees, and a reputation for reliability across California. When my grandfather uncovered my contributions, it wasn't because I demanded recognition, but because my work's impact was undeniable. Silence doesn't mean weakness. It means trusting that your achievements will echo louder than words ever could. Lesson 2: Success doesn't need recognition. Harper Fresh Solutions was thriving long before my family knew it existed. I built it from a single truck and a vision, not to impress anyone but to serve an industry I loved. Yet my family saw me as a failure, blinded by their own narrative. This taught me that true success isn't measured by others' applause, but by the value you create. My company's $3.2 million in profit last year, its role in transforming restaurant operations, and the trust of 250 clients were real, whether my family acknowledged them or not. Your worth isn't tied to external validation, it's rooted in the problems you solve and the lives you impact. When you build something meaningful, its success stands on its own, even in the face of doubt or ignorance. Lesson 3: Family is collaboration. The inheritance could have torn us apart. When the Codicil revealed I'd control 51% of Harper Culinary Group, I saw shock and resentment in my family's eyes. But division wasn't inevitable. Over time, Ethan, Claire, and I discovered that family isn't just about shared blood, it's about shared goals. By respecting each other's strengths, we turned a potential feud into a partnership. Ethan's operational expertise, Claire's branding savvy, and my logistics knowledge became a powerful triad. We integrated systems, boosted revenue by 20%, and planned new locations together. Collaboration didn't erase past tensions, but it showed that when family members listen and learn from one another, they can build something greater than any individual could alone. Lesson 4: Persistence overcomes doubt. The sting of my family's disdain, calling my work trivial or a waste, once made me question myself. But I channeled that pain into persistence. Every late night at the warehouse, every contract won, every system improved was my answer to their doubts. Building Harper Fresh Solutions into a multi-million-dollar enterprise wasn't easy, but it was my way of proving that their skepticism didn't define me. Persistence turned their doubts into fuel, pushing me to create something they couldn't ignore. If you face disbelief, don't let it stop you. Let it drive you to build something so undeniable that it reshapes how others see you and how you see yourself. Lesson 5: Legacy is innovation. My grandfather didn't leave me 51% of the restaurants to maintain the status quo. He saw in me the same spark he had, a drive to innovate. His legacy wasn't just a chain of restaurants, but a mindset of solving problems and pushing boundaries. By integrating my logistics expertise with the family business, I honored his vision, not by preserving the past, but by creating new value. Our new Santa Barbara location, with its record-breaking revenue and plans for expansion into Nevada, reflect this. True legacy isn't about clinging to what was, but about building what can be, using the foundation of the past to reach new heights. Conclusion: Sunset in Santa Barbara. Standing on the restaurant's rooftop, I watched the sunset paint the ocean gold. Below, customers enjoyed meals made with ingredients my company supplied, in a space Ethan and Claire had perfected. We weren't just running a restaurant chain, we were building a new legacy, blending tradition with innovation. This story is proof that you don't need recognition to succeed, but when it comes, it's the sweetest reward. If my journey inspires you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have your own story of overcoming doubt to achieve success, leave a comment. I'd love to hear it.